Family, what is up? It is your boy Providence back again with another banger of a video. Today we're going to be using the Vel 46, much more popularly known as the MP7. MP7 is literally a goated SMG. In my opinion, probably only second to the MP5, so I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay. And as always, the class setup will be at the end of the video. But for today's commentary, I wanted to look at some wisdom from Will Rodgers. Will Rodgers famously said this: "Don't let yesterday take up too much of today." Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. Family, if you're listening to this, you got a past, a history of events in your life that has led to this very moment, a history that has shaped your thoughts, emotions, actions, beliefs, and personality. Our past is filled with things we couldn't control and things we could. There are both things we did and things that were done to us. All of this shapes who we are today. Sometimes when we reminisce about the past, we have fond memories. You know the type of memories I'm talking about. Those great moments that you've had with families and friends, or when you played Call of Duty for the first time, pre-skill based matchmaking, or your first kiss. Yeah, we get a warm, tingly feeling inside when we think about those good memories. But sometimes when we think about the past, we cringe. We remember awkward or embarrassing moments filled with shame, failure, and even trauma. Sometimes we think about the past and actually we're hurt. I submit for your consideration that the past isn't a series of random events. Our past is a story that we can interpret in different ways, a story that we can be proud of or ashamed of. The story that our past tells us can be very compelling. Whether we feel proud of our past, ashamed of our past, or hurt by our past, the story of our past can feel so real to us that it actually overshadows our present and keeps us from building towards the future. Our past can feel so real to us that we can be tempted to live in the past. One example of this is Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. Now, if you remember Napoleon Dynamite, there was a character in that movie called Uncle Rico. Uncle Rico is a salesman that goes around town selling plastic Tupperware, and he's very discontent about his present life status because several times throughout the movie he's reminiscing about the time that he was playing quarterback. At one point he tells one of the characters, Kip, that if the coach would have put him in fourth quarter, they would have been state champions, and then he would have went on to be pro. Then he would have been making millions. Then he would have been in a mansion somewhere just soaking it up with his soulmate, living life. And you know, he's delusional. He then looks over to the character and says, "Yo, do you know anything about a time machine?" Like, he wants to actually try to travel back through time so he can actually undo that part of his life so that he can change his whole future and be living the life that he wants to live. Imagine living in the past so much that you want to take a time machine just to go back and right the wrongs of the past. Now you might say, all right, man, that's a comedy movie, and you're right, but I don't really think that that is too far from reality for a lot of people. Uncle Rico's past tells him a story. It tells him that back in the day you used to be great. You used to be this great football star. You got railroaded by maybe a series of unfortunate events, but man, if you could only go back to then, you could change certain things and you could make your now so much better. That's the story that Uncle Rico's past tells him. Not because any of that stuff is actually true, because who knows, he probably was never really that great of a football player. If his coach would have put him in, he probably still would have lost the game, probably would have never went pro. But the reality is that's how he chooses to interpret his past. He interprets his past in such a way that he says, man, if things would have only been different back then, my life would have been great now. His infatuation with the past keeps him from being thankful for where he is now, what he's accomplished, and it keeps him from seizing the opportunity to build something for himself right now in the present. So for Uncle Rico, his past tells him that things were better back then, But for some of us, we look back to our past and we don't actually think it was better back then. We realize that there was a lot of trauma, embarrassment, hurt, but we still are captivated by that just as much as Uncle Rico is. There are failures in the past that today kind of make you feel powerless about the present. For this, I give you guys a personal story. I've always, from my life, struggled with my weight. I've been obese for most of my life, and there's been times when I've lost weight, and unfortunately, I've gained it back. And one of the things that I've wrestled with as I've continued to be on my weight loss and fitness journey is the hopelessness that failure comes along with, feeling like you've tried something numerous times for many, many years and in many different ways. And even when you found success, it seems like failure was right around the corner. One of the things that I had to realize was how my past failure when it comes to weight loss told me a story that left me feeling powerless, and that failure was inevitable. When I give into those thoughts, sometimes I do end up feeling stuck. And maybe you can relate, man. Maybe your issue is not my issue, but maybe there's something in your life that when you think about it, your past and your history with it, it does make you feel stuck. And if you can relate, man, I think we have to recognize that when we feel that way, we're giving our past way too much power, and we're letting the past have too much of the present. I think one person who had exemplified this kind of thinking for us was the Apostle Paul. For those of you who might not know who that is, he wrote parts of the Bible, and in the book of Philippians, he says this when he's speaking about, his ongoing service to the Lord. He talks about persevering, and he talks about forgetting the past. He says this: brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself to have taken hold of it, which is basically, when he says hold of it, that it is, that maturity in Christ. But one thing he says, one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and reaching forward to what is ahead, I pursue as my goal the prize promised by God's heavenly call in Christ Jesus. And so Paul has this idea that there's this goal, there's this prize that he's striving for. And in order to reach that prize, it necessarily entails literally forgetting about the past, choosing to not be hindered by the past, choosing to not let the failures of the past, choosing to not allow probably even the successes of the past allow him to become arrogant, allow him to become hindered in any way, but to focus up and press on towards the mark, towards the goal that God set for him to reach. Family, do not let the story of your past keep you from seeing the opportunity that is in today. Every day that we wake up, there is an opportunity to write a new story that continues the overall bigger story that is your life. If you find yourself in a place where you're not happy with where you're at, write a new story. You can take control of the situation. And much like the Apostle Paul, when he was writing to believers to encourage them to press on, he said that he had not mastered it, and I feel the exact same way. As I'm recording this, I'm like, man, I'm trying to take my own advice because I haven't even mastered this. But the truth is the truth. Family, let me leave you guys with a quote as I wrap up, man. Calvin Coolidge says this: nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. The slogan "Press On" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Family, let's seize the opportunity of today and press on. Thank you so much for listening to this video. If you made it to this point in the video, you are literally a GOAT, and I want to thank you for that, man. If you are new to the content, please like and subscribe. This is my style of video. I love to play games. I love to do commentary, to hopefully encourage. So if you like the content, please subscribe and come back for more, man. This has been Providence, and I will see you guys in the next video.